Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to FPL Don't Panic. Very quick video, hopefully only going to last 2 or 3 minutes. It's more an FYI, and then I'm going to steer you in the direction of someone else. But some of you will have probably seen this morning the announcement around new point system for defensive contributions, which I think is really good. I think it's really going to make the game even more interesting. So I'm going to steer you in the direction of FPL Focal, mainly because I've nicked one of his graphics. I've only just watched the video. This is as much to get this out as an FYI and some very early initial thoughts. But the crux of it is defenders will now get points for clearances, blocks, interceptions, tackles. So 10 defensive contributions will give a defender an extra 2 points. So that certainly starts to make, those central defensive positions, just much more interesting, because we're usually going for the attacking wing backs, etc. We'll be looking at your Aït-Nouris and Minozes, etc., your Frimpongs, but it certainly makes those, in theory, because I suspect this will have some effect on some pricing, but in theory, cheaper defensive options may be more interesting, as enablers. So as you can see there, we've got Tarkowski, for instance, would have scored an extra 44 points next year based on this. So I think that starts to, we've got to to start to take that into consideration. And midfielders, clearances, blocks, interceptions, tackles, ball recoveries, 12 defensive contributions, gets an extra 2 points as well. So Caicedo, who I sort of jokingly mentioned in one of my drafts, I'd probably use him if it was 5 million as an enabler. Well, that would become a very interesting enabler. Although I've got an even better one for you, actually. Makes the game more interesting, I think. There's so many good players get ignored; they're not getting rewarded with points for some sterling work, and I think it's going to, widen the pool of players that we choose from. I think it's a great thing, personally. I do also think my own methodology with the spreadsheet and how I work on averages, it should tie into that really well to spot those, players that are, as I say, putting in that leg donkey work with, tackles, etc., and interceptions, and they're maybe just ticking along, that they'd have normally been just ticking along. If it's a defender, maybe 2 points or 1 point per game, suddenly they get a nice little average of 4 points going. Or here's one point. Here's a tip. Rodri. Now I can't work out what he would have got last year, because he hardly played, obviously. Season before, I looked seriously at Rodri. He was about 5.5, and he was averaging. He was just as an enabler. He was getting some attacking returns, but it was also, all that work he puts in that central and defensive midfield area. He'd have been flying on this, because he was just on a normal point system, and I nearly brought him in just as an enabler at 5.5, because he was a 100% set starter. He was getting goal contributions, not many. Wouldn't is that sort of player, you wouldn't be expecting them. But he was certainly contributing about an attacking return 1 in every 3 games. Now, you pop his defensive contributions onto that as well, and his blocks and his interceptions, etc. All of a sudden, he could become like that 6 or 7 points a game, man. Just one I'm going to keep a close eye on. Rodri certainly comes from me, depending on the price he comes in at, and having almost a 100% starter in that City side becomes almost a, I'd say, I wouldn't say a lock-in at this stage, but it's certainly going to be looked at. So, this is more of an FYI, because I've nicked one of his graphics there. Go and have a look at FPL Focal. He does a really good show, and he's got some really good information in there. I've literally just watched it. Going to get this out as an FYI for all of my subscribers. But pop over and see FPL Focal. Tell her if you don't know FPL Focal already, just say Des sent you for this information, or FPL Don't Panic sent you for this information. Take care, have fun, play your own game, don't panic. No game release this week, I think. At this stage, I think it's going to be Monday or Tuesday. We'll see. See you soon. Bye-bye.